Wild card weekend is set in the NFL. Yes, it's still a week away. Next Saturday, we'll have two playoff games there. But Donnie Rightside and Joe Raineri, we like to get the people excited for it now. Those two Saturday games will be the Rams at the Panthers, followed by the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Sunday, three games. Buffalo Bills at the Jacksonville Jaguars. You take a look at the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Philadelphia. And then the nightcap is going to be Sunday Night Football between the Chargers and the Patriots. Monday Night Football, that is the Houston Texans. And you see the graphic there. Steelers or the Ravens? We know it's those Pittsburgh Steelers moving on as the home team here. We're set. We're ready to go, Joe. How are we feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. We got a lot of interesting rematches, games that we, teams versus one another that we've already seen. So it's going to make for a very interesting wild card round. And then again, you're going to have some teams that have not seen one another. And what are the first impressions going to be? I mean, we got two pick'em games, Donnie, in the wild card where significantly higher seeded teams aren't exactly significantly higher in the marketplace, which I think is also fascinating.
Yeah, we take a look at the NFC playoff matchups here. And again, how massive that game was between the Seahawks and the 49ers, which gives the Seahawks the win. They don't have to leave, have a great home field advantage, even though they actually play their best football on the road seemingly here. That's an advantage for them. It used to be in the past, Joe, top two teams get by, so it's a little more even in the playing field. It's massive to have that number one overall seed. Then we find out the Chicago Bears and the 2 seed, they're going to take on the division rival in the Green Bay Packers. Then the 6 seed 49ers going to travel to Philadelphia as the 3rd seed. And then the Rams, that 5th seed, going up against the 4 seed Carolina Panthers. If we're looking for probably the easiest path to victory here in round number 1, you just look at the point spreads here. It's double digits for the Rams. They probably should win. Then we have some pretty good matchups, Joe, between the Bears and the Packers and the Eagles and the 49ers.
Yeah. Again, should be very interesting. All the West Coast teams, Donnie, with the exception of Seattle as a bye, but we got a lot of those West Coast teams, Donnie, good West Coast teams that are now going to have to travel out east here because of the way it all ended up seeding-wise. But make no mistake about it, a lot of experience, though. Some newbies, but a lot of experience in this year's playoffs, especially on that side.
Yeah, we take a look at some of these price points here that we look at for the NFC champion. Yes, obvious course, you're going to have the Seahawks now as the favorite at a plus 190 price. They're the number 1 seed. They're going to be at home. They're going to wait while multiple teams take losses this weekend. Followed by the Rams, Eagles, Packers, Bears, and 49ers. For my money, if I'm taking 2 swings at plus, it's the Eagles at plus 450 and it's the Packers at plus 850 because I believe, Joe, in the next round, the NFC divisional round, it's going to be the Eagles taking on the Packers. Therefore, that gives me a jetway to the NFC Championship game with a good plus money ticket in my pocket. Any looks for you, Joe, in that plus money market here to win the NFC?
It is wide open, and the way that it's going to turn out, too. And we talk experience matters this time of year, Donnie, right? Yeah. So Seattle gets to spend a week home. They haven't been in this spot in a hot minute, right? But we know the Bears are in uncharted territory. But all those other teams, including your Eagles, these are teams that have been there, done this, know exactly what it takes. So, experience to me is the advantage early here. And I don't know how many upsets we're getting here early in this side of the bracket.
Yeah, hey, we get to play it out, which is the great part. We don't have a mythical champion in the NFL. You just vote to bring it in here. But the AFC also going to have some fun here as they enter into the equation. Denver is the number 1 overall seed. They are going to get that bye week here in a much-needed rest. The 5 seed is Houston. The 4 seed is Pittsburgh. Buffalo, the 6 seed. Jacksonville, the 3rd seed. The Chargers, the 7 seed. New England, the 2 seed. We got real competitive games across the board. In the NFC, you got that blowout, or at least blowout as a odds maker perspective for the Rams. You're not getting that this week here in the AFC, Joe. 3 really good games look like they're on deck.
Yeah, let's face it, Jacksonville and the Patriots, kind of the new kids here taking on the old guard, like Chargers. Never have any success early in the playoffs, right? They always seem to get bounced, even though they got one of the best quarterbacks. The Broncos is the 1 seed? Crazy, but very well, a head coach that's been there, done that, has the ring on his finger, the right guy at the right time. And Pittsburgh and Houston, old guard. Buffalo, old guard. A lot of very familiar coaches and quarterbacks in this year's AFC side for sure.
You know what's interesting about the NFC side? Because you look at it and say to yourself, all right, the Seahawks are a good football team, but they're not really the pedigree per se. The Rams have a pedigree. Their coach and their quarterback have won a Super Bowl. The Eagles, coach and quarterback have won a Super Bowl here. The 49ers, at least they've been to a Super Bowl, right, with their coach and their quarterback. You look at the AFC, Joe, the Broncos. No real pedigree here from that team. The Patriots, no pedigree from this team. The Texans, no pedigree from this team. The Jaguars, the Chargers, and then obviously the Buffalo Bills, but they have a pedigree of getting maybe to an AFC Championship game, but never to a Super Bowl. You do, like, when you say, Joe, wide open in the AFC, you're looking at price points where the Broncos plus 230, Patriots, like really good price points on teams that are unproven, which means you could catch a really nice ticket and wind up in the Super Bowl.
And the Bills being the old guard, right? The Bills, it feels like it's always here, and here they are at 5-1. And, you know, a lot of people are saying they're looking at that 6-3, right? Buffalo to 6 seed, Jacksonville to 3. And maybe likely the winner of that game should be considered the favorite to win it all there, Donnie, because nobody's talking about Jacksonville. Nobody seems to trust them. But has there been a hotter team since week 8, 9, since their bye week? They have been on fire, but are they good enough? And does the experience come into play where they can handle business against Buffalo? I mean, Buffalo doesn't have to play in the snow. They got to be excited about that, right?
Yeah, a couple of these graphics that we left out to, like the NFC with Carolina. Okay, take a flyer. And also, by the way, the Pittsburgh Steelers, not even win the Super Bowl. They're in the playoffs with a home game, Joe. They're 18-1 to win the AFC. Not getting a lot of hope there, but the Chargers 12-1, the Jaguars plus 550, the Bills, can they finally be their year at this point? There are a lot of opportunities. I'll tell you one team, like, I don't think I'm obviously going to take the Steelers on a flyer, but Houston at plus 470, I want no piece of them, Joe. Like, they're right in the thick of things, like, oh, that's a good price. I want nothing to do with the Houston Texans. Am I wrong?
No, I agree with you there. I still don't think they have the offense that is capable of getting it done. And they played all their starters against Indy yesterday indoors, and they had to hold on for dear life. So, yeah, no, I'm not buying the Houston Texans this year. Great turnaround, but not buying them.
Poly Market coming up next. Also, Cow Sheet coming up next. That's the Predictive Markets, people. And finally, we're going to talk MVP odds in the NFL. Come on back. Predictive Markets here. We love them right here on the early line in the SportsGrid Network. It's Donnie Rightside. It is Joe Raineri. We're going to talk pro football champion. Now that we have a playoff set, do you know the favorite right now? 2 teams in the NFC. That first team is the Seattle Seahawks at a 20% chance, followed by the Los Angeles Rams at a 16% chance. Then we have 3 straight AFC teams. Denver, Buffalo, New England, before we find ourselves with the Philadelphia Eagles. Taking a flyer, once again in the Predictive Markets show. You can stamp, boy, I like Seattle at 20%. By the time they have their first round matchup, which are going to take a bye, you might already be profitable without even having the team that you chose even play a football game, Joe. Seattle is the favorite. I do think they have the pathway to get to a Super Bowl, but again, I'm looking a little bit further down the board. Let me just give you this one caveat, too. The Los Angeles Rams are 16%. Listed at second. You might argue that they might be the most talented team, but Joe, they have to win probably 3 road games before they even get to the Super Bowl. I can't take the Rams either.
It's tough, but they certainly have the weapons, and maybe Devontae Adams, they're thinking, might be able to get back here if they can get it extended here and beat Carolina, which I don't think will be a problem. And it's hard to discount them. But I do know this, Donnie, if you don't bet the Rams now, when they beat Carolina and they beat them and, let's say, cover the 10, what is their number going to be at that point? So they may not win it all, but I think at this price, if we get the contract, I think we make money once they beat Carolina.
By the way, let's get to the MVP now, Joe. NFL MVP coming into yesterday. It was by a wide margin. Some outlets, Joe, were minus 500 or higher for Drake May. Yep. Then it turns out the Rams were going to play their starters. So myself, made money yesterday, happy. But one of my favorite wagers was Drake May over 2 touchdown passes yesterday, over 1.5. It's a little juicy at minus 155 to 150, depending where you're shopping at some outlets. But I say, no, this makes sense. You have a game that you're going to blow the doors off of the Miami Dolphins. They're done. They're buried. They're dead in the water. You want to get your quarterback some easy touchdown passes so he wins the MVP. So what did we see ourselves with yesterday? Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay going, every chance I have to throw you to get you a touchdown pass, I'm going to give you that opportunity. Bing, 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 bing across the board. Joe, I watched the first half yesterday. A handoff inside the 5-yard line when the game was 0-0. Boom, walks in with a touchdown. Okay, there'll be plenty more chances. Number 2 drive, first quarter, Joe. First and goal at the 2. They line Drake May up at wide receiver and run a wildcat into the end zone for a touchdown. Drake May finishes with 1 touchdown pass, which, I lost my bet. I'm unhappy with that. But also, Drake May lost the favorability status on being the MVP in the betting markets, which include Kalshi and Polymarket. Matthew Stafford is now a 60% favorite to win the MVP when Drake May got sold down the river by his head coach and didn't get those layup touchdowns that Stafford got. I can't believe that happened. May had the MVP wrapped up until he didn't, Joe.
So we were on in-game live yesterday for the late afternoon games. And, of course, I was hosting with our good friend Adam Kaufman, who might be the biggest Drake May homer and who has been screaming about Drake May MVP since about week 4. And I have continued to tell him, you're out of your mind. It's going to be Matt Stafford. So when that game started, he did remind me that as high as minus 500.
Yes.
By the time the Rams game ended and Stafford just threw his 4th touchdown pass, it was like he saw a ghost because he pulled up those odds and they were at a pick'em price. Yeah. And I want to know is who is betting into that market so much that you're moving the line from minus 500 to pick 'em by the time the Rams game is over? Unreal.
But honestly, because coaches are supposed to be in the corner of their best athletes here. Like, again, in Philadelphia, a meaningless football game. Hey, kid, let me let you go out there. Get your 1,000. Stafford got his, but it wasn't even like, well, I'm not going to run him out there in a meaningless game because they had to win to keep their seeding. But once it got apparent, like, this game was over, like, hey, you know what? On the goal line or inside the 20, we're just going to dial up some easy plays to throw you lobs for touchdowns here because I want you to win the MVP. And it was the direct opposite. Like, you could have had a first half where he threw 3 touchdown passes and rode the bench and be like, you know what? That's the MVP. And some might say, well, you can't just lay it. Trust me, optics matter. When you see the final statistics and Stafford has all these touchdown passes in the final week of the season in a meaningful game to then, they let him air it out. And Vrabel's like, dude, we'd rather get our running backs off inside the 5-yard line and have him at wide receiver. I couldn't believe what I was watching at that point. Again, it doesn't come as sore games. Oh, Donnie lost a bet. But I'm looking from a locker room perspective, like, your kid was going to win the MVP, and you didn't let him, Joe.
Yeah, he didn't. And listen, Stafford could have been benched in the 4th quarter, Donnie, because that game was well in hand for the Rams. And McVay kept rolling him out there. And you know what? When it got into the red zone inside the 10, they weren't calling Corum handoffs. They were calling him to throw the ball, and he got that 4th touchdown.
Incredible, man. Come on, coach, man. Back your player, man. Ridiculousness. Let's get a quick preview for the people out there in these streets of what we're looking forward to in Wild Card Weekend this coming weekend coming up. Saturday, you got 2 games. Sunday, you got 3 games. Monday night, you have that single game on Monday Night Football. The Chargers and the New England Patriots. That game is in the AFC. That game is going to take place on Sunday Night Football from New England. The New England Patriots yesterday easily dispatched of the Miami Dolphins, got that number 2 seed. They're going to take on the Chargers, who rested their starters in Denver yesterday in a close game where, you know what, they fought hard. They just obviously didn't have their starting quarterback or many players that you would usually lean on. This total, Joe, sits at 46.5 across the landscape, and a total of a side of only 3.5 as a favorite for the Patriots. The Chargers are rested. The Patriots played their starters. The Patriots are at home, so no travel last week and no travel this week. Are we underselling the New England Patriots, or is there something to Harbaugh coming into the playoffs with Herbert where they can win this game, but you think they can keep it close enough to stay within that margin?
Experience. I mean, what is home field advantage? What is the experience factor here? How much is that worth when it's all said and done? You got a chance to rest Herbert, which is fantastic. Rest some of those offensive linemen, but you didn't see Hampton. And for all the faults, let me tell you something. That Chargers team sat 5 starters on the defensive side of the ball. They went into Denver and absolutely smacked Bo Nix and that offense around there. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get anything going offensively with all the backups on the offensive side. But the defense, even with the backups, very competitive. So, Harbaugh will have his team ready to go, even in New England. And if it comes down to it, Drake May, and you know how I feel about Herbert, I think he should be the real MVP because I believe nobody has done more with less than he has this year. He'll have an opportunity to show up Drake May in his own building there, and I like his chances of doing so.
Rainieri and Kaufman got to be on that. You got to make sure you guys are on for that Sunday night football
Mm-hmm.
game here. The winner of that should take the MVP in the AFC. Should be a fun game to watch. And again, close numbers here, which the majority of these games are. Starting with that Sunday 1 o'clock game, the Buffalo Bills, who rested their starters in an easy victory over the Jets in the last game at the Ralph. They're going to go south to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who easily dispatched of their opponent on Sunday, the Tennessee Titans. This line total is 51.5. The side actually has the Bills as a favorite in Jacksonville, which I think is pretty crazy. Jacksonville's played really good football. The Bills still have Josh Allen. You know the public eventually is going to probably want to bet Allen, but I am surprised that the Jags are an underdog. Are you, Joe?
Not, again, experience situation, right? I think that on a neutral site game, Buffalo would probably be a 3.5, 4-point favorite, somewhere in that ballpark there, Donnie. So I don't think it's a stretch here, but I do think the total in that game is going to be fascinating because I could see both teams having some success running the ball, and given how Trevor Lawrence has looked under Liam Cohn and this offense, this could be the highest scoring game, I think, of Wild Card Weekend, Donnie. It wouldn't shock me at all if we get a ton of points in this one.
I mean, it should be a good one to watch. And again, you're taking a look at those two games. We look at 3.5s and 1.5s. We're expecting a really competitive environment. The game sandwiched in between those two games on Sunday, Joe, San Francisco and Philadelphia. This line yesterday opened up at 3 once it first hit the board. It's now up to 3.5s across. The San Francisco 49ers lost a chance to be the 1 seed. They're going to travel to Philadelphia, who rested their starters with a chance to have the number 2 seed on the line. This side, minus 3.5 and a total of 46.5. Weather conditions right now, Joe, don't look all that bad. Right around 47 degrees at kickoff, winds around 12 miles per hour. But again, we're roughly a week out. Those could change here. But we're looking for a clean slate at this point. The rested Eagles versus the 49ers.
Well, we've seen the 49ers offense against 500 teams. Teams that are basically 500 or less, and they drop 40 points a game. We've also seen the 49ers against really good and elite defenses like Seattle, for instance, last game, where they mustered how many points, Donnie? 3? Well, What exactly is going to happen here with the Eagles? Any idea? Because the Eagles defense is pretty good too. It feels like this is going to be a slugfest here and a low score, maybe the lowest scoring game of the weekend.
I'm interested to see this play out, too, because understand this. The Eagles did take a bye week. Andrew Makuba, young safety they drafted out of Texas last year, found his way into the starting lineup. He eventually broke his leg late in the season a couple weeks ago. But outside of that, every single starter is healthy for the Philadelphia Eagles entering into the playoffs. That's pretty incredible at this point. We'll see if that does make a decided difference. Here's Brandon Graham, old-timer, talking about the Philadelphia Eagles moving towards the playoffs.
What's your initial reaction to facing the 49ers in the wild card round?
Oh, that's what we got?
Yeah.
That's what. Oh, okay. You know what? That's cool. You know what I'm saying? We at the same time, we know we was gonna have to see. We gonna have to see everybody. Whoever we see. It's all about what we do. And thankful that we get to go against a good opponent. And if we want it, it don't come easy. We gotta go take it. And so, like I said, we just gotta stay together. We already knew it's a possibility of whoever it was, Packers. It could have been the Rams. It could have been them. But either way, if we want to win it all, we gotta see those people.
What comes to your mind first when you think of the Niners?
We gotta stop their run. Christian McCaffrey. Then on top of that, Purdy's been doing a great job since he's been back. We gotta make sure that we just, even on the offensive side, I know they gonna make sure that they have a great showing coming up, and we just gotta be us, man, and bring the energy and play fast on defense and put the offense in a great position. It's gonna be field position in that game, and special teams, everybody just gotta do their job and make sure that they come ready, because I know the 49ers gonna definitely come in here, try to get one on our field, and we gotta make sure that we defend it.
How does it feel?
There's BG talking about the upcoming game here, and that game's going to take place again 4:30 p.m. in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field, Joe.
Yeah, and it feels like points could very well be hard to come by. And he's right. There are a few weapons here on the 49ers. They'll have Trent Williams back. They'll have their offensive tackle. Eagles will have Lane Johnson back. So it's going to be all about scheme. It's going to be about coaching, and it's going to be about which defense can get enough stops. Do you trust the Eagles' offense enough to blow this game out of the water, Donnie? That's going to be the big question.
Yeah, it is, and it'll be fun to watch it play out. And again, the Eagles are rested, and also the Eagles. The best part about this, like the own fan base, is going to put a chip on the shoulder. Like, oh, we blew the 2 seed. Fire these guys, and then if they win, they'll love them again. So it should be a fun weekend here in Philadelphia, at least to listen to Sports Talk Radio. The Rams and the Carolina Panthers, they'll get it teed up the first game of Wild Card Weekend, Joe. Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Matthew Stafford, Bryce Young. We take a look at the weather conditions here. Let me just get a quick peek. 70 degrees, Joe. What is that? What, playing this down in your neck of the woods down there in Florida at this point? 46.5 is the total. 10.5 to 9.5, depending where you're shopping at. Heavy favorite for the Rams. For a dome team going outdoors with no rain in the forecast and 70 degrees, that's probably not what Carolina wanted to see.
No, that is not. But listen, what are we going to get? What was the first game? 31-28, right? But it was Matt Stafford's interceptions in that game that pretty much sealed it. It was also raining sideways, if I remember there. I just don't think there's enough offense, and there certainly isn't enough experience here with Carolina to go toe-to-toe with the Rams. And listen, coaching advantage, McVay and Stafford having been here and done this and already been there and lost that game, I think the Rams have a huge advantage. Would not shock me if this game is over by halftime.
I'll tell you what's interesting, too, is like we get these situations where we say to ourselves, these teams like the Carolina Panthers should not be in the playoffs. But we have multiple instances where these teams that are under 500 going into the playoffs and actually winning that game because home field is a monster advantage. And also understand this from the Rams. I tell you, and Joe tells you as well, they are ultra talented. Like every position, head coach down to the quarterback, they're phenomenal. But something still, like that game was up in the air yesterday with the Arizona Cardinals in a game where the Cardinals were no business in winning, and the Rams absolutely wanted to win that game. So stranger things have happened, and also understand this. We are handicappers. We're not asking you, should the Rams win this game outright? That's a 10.5-point line. Rams could win in a de facto blowout 30-20, and you could still cover from a Carolina perspective. Monday shows go fast. There's so much information, specifically from a week that we saw the college football playoff, the finalization of the NFL playoff structure, and away we go into a Monday where, we got to wait till Thursday, but I love this show. These games are so meaningful. Now, okay, let's brush over this game. You have great football games to talk about in the NFL, 2 exciting matchups in college football. This week is going to be great, so make sure you stick it right here on the SportsGrid Network, specifically with the early line. Waking up, getting the early worm, and having some of that information that you can stand around the water cooler with. But now, Joe, you hear us talk all show. We say that. We want to hear from the people out there. Here's our Fade the Public poll question. We asked a question today, and it dealt with the Baltimore Ravens game going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers last night. Where do you find this question, you might say? At SportsGrid on X. Give us a follow. These questions come out each and every day, Monday through Friday. The question we asked today, should the Ravens move on from Harbaugh? Now, granted, we are not grammatically correct most of the time. Yes, they need to. I believe there should be an extra O on that too. Or no, ridiculous here. I'm in the boat where I don't think they need to, but they might. But also understand this. These are two organizations that played last night that are not used to firing football coaches as of late. I don't think Harbaugh is going anywhere. So I look at that 38.6% live and say that's probably the way to do it. But I don't think it's ridiculous.
I'm against it. I mean, listen, when you put in that much time in an organization, this isn't Mike McCarthy, right? Like, all right, you've been here 3-4 years. We don't like what we're seeing. When you have been the fabric of what this organization has been for so long, ownership, especially that ownership group and Hart, if he's going to go, they're going to give us the narrative where it's a mutual thing and he moves on to another team. There is not going to be here's your pink slip, get out of here, Harbaugh. You know, it's not going to happen that way. And they sure as heck won't do it unless they are 100% confident they have somebody that is just as good, if not better, to take his place. And I don't think this is the year to look for that, Donnie. I really don't.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. If we had the poll say more likely to be a Raven next year, Harbaugh or Lamar Jackson?
I would say Harbaugh. I would say Harbaugh. There's just far too many stories about Lamar and this, upstairs and and even some of the players here. It's, ultimately winning cures everything, Donnie. Stay healthy next year, win the AFC North, and we won't be having this conversation.
Yeah, no, hey, look, we're going to get probably a lot of that information coming out in the next 24 to 48 hours, and this sets up as an interesting offseason nonetheless for the Baltimore Ravens.